Welcome back to In the Oven with Adam and Brad.
What up?
It's an exciting day.
It is.
We're going to talk about my Montana trip, but right before I left for Montana, I ordered some new cameras for our podcast.
Yes, and they're here. And I forgot that we had them. I did receive them. I saw them, and then I went on a trip myself. And now I'm looking at them, and they're cool.
Yeah. So
and they have red lights on them, which means nothing to y'all, but it's like official.
Now you know that we're recording. Yeah. So, so exciting times. Get this new camera. Obviously, as soon as we start the podcast, Miley decided to get up, go lay down. Because she just likes to walk around here and cause a ruckus. But yeah, Montana trip. A lot of fun. I went for 7 days. Aubrey had already been there for 10, so Aubrey was there for 17 days.
Heck yeah.
7 days is just about the time that I'm like ready to be just back in my routine, you know? Because I don't really like try to work out. I don't try to do anything. I just like go and live. It's relaxing. It's beautiful up there. I mean,
outdoorsy.
You saw some of the pictures and videos of the stuff. So
what all y'all do?
So I got in late in the afternoon on Tuesday. My flight got delayed and stuff, so I didn't get in until like 2-ish, and then it's about an hour and a half drive back. So about 4 o'clock really is when we got to her parents' house. So when we got there, really we just hung out, had dinner that night, and so then Wednesday and Thursday were really just like kind of like putzing around. Went to a farmer's market. Did some, checked out our land, met with the architect who's building our place. We spent like a whole morning with him one morning, just like going over our plan and making sure that we set it up to maximize our view on the house. So like, obviously, and then that's when I found out that the cost to build homes in Montana, did I tell you this, price per square foot? The average price per square foot on a custom home is $350 to $450 a square foot.
True.
Yeah. I was like, really? Because I thought like $250 a square foot was a lot. And
It used to be a ton, but
I mean, my parents are looking at about $200, $225 a square foot on their house,
Well, it's all geographically specific, man. You always see those houses like, this is what'll get you in Nowheresville, Texas, $180,000 get you a mansion.
Yeah. So that was like so essentially at that point I told Aubrey, you better make sure this is everything you want. It's laid out how you want before we start building. So that's why we're taking like a full year to make sure we get it all right. So he said by Christmas, he should have us like a pretty good plan. Like we deleted some rooms, moved some stuff over. They're kind of flipping the house plan we like so that our bedroom's on the corner so that we have like panoramic views and stuff. Sweet. Minor things like that. But, when I get that, I'm going to try to find someone to like 3D render it so that Aubrey can like literally see it all. And because I said, I would much rather spend $10,000 up front than
for sure.
get there and then she'd be like, I don't really like this, and I spend $20,000 changing something.
Yeah, change orders.
But yeah, I mean, I went fishing. You have to go fishing in Montana. You don't just buy a fishing license.
What do you do?
You have to buy like a conservation license, and then you have to pay this fee. And then if you're fishing on tribal lands, you got to pay this tribal fee, all this stuff. So my 1-day fishing license was $215. Now, if I want to go back and fish again, it's only $15 a day after that.
That's like the season pass. If you come 2.5 times, it pays for itself. Man.
So that's the only part that like really sucked is like paying all those fees. But I guess as long as I go back and go fishing,
Montana's beautiful. It's got all different kinds of wildlife. We're a little spoiled here in Florida in that Florida just kind of encourages people to get out there in the wildlife. And it doesn't cost anything. Now, I know it doesn't cost anything to go hiking or whatever, but makes sense. I mean, I'm sure they're trying to put that money to good use, but I mean, I think we've talked about how well the government spends money. So,
but if you're a Montana resident, it's like half those things don't apply to you. Right. So really, it's just like out of state
tourists.
Tourists are trying to get that money. But I had fun. We flowed the river for like 5 hours, and truthfully, I would have had to pay much more than that if I had to do a guided like fishing tour. We went with my father-in-law, and my brother-in-law, and so we just flowed down the river. We caught some brown trout. We caught some smallmouth bass, and it was just a good time, just like hanging out.
Yeah, fun. Family bonding.
It's
awesome.
It's just like the weather is cool. Yeah. I mean, it was 78 was the high, and the 78 there is not like 78 here. Like 78 here feels like 100
still
degrees
annoying.
still.
Yeah.
There, like you could literally, if you got in shade, like we did a lot of. She had 2 nieces that were promoting from 8th grade to 9th grade. They call it promoting, so they had parties for that.
Cool.
So it was nice that I could see their family, but they just set up like essentially literally like tents outside, like canopies, you know?
Yeah.
And it was like you could sit underneath there in the middle of the day and you were comfortable.
Okay.
Whereas in Florida, you'd be sitting there and you'd be like,
check out.
yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah. I don't like to eat when I'm hot.
Right, me neither.
It makes me want to throw up when
Yeah.
I'm sweating and I'm trying to eat. So, but no, there it was like really comfortable. So yeah, overall, really good time. Had fun seeing everyone. Had a lot of elk.
Yeah. Okay. True.
John and Paul both shot elks this year.
Okay.
So like he was like, "You want elk steaks or elk burgers?"
So you're basically Joe Rogan today.
Yeah, I did. I ate a lot of that natural raised elk out in the wild.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. You'll have to come visit.
Yeah. Oh,
when we get
dude,
that house built.
So down. Never been to Montana. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, you've been to Salt Lake, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It reminds me of that, where like the mountains are just like right there. I love it. Know.
It's beautiful, and the weather. It's great.
Yeah. So it's a just much smaller town, though, obviously. But luckily, coming back from this trip, we're not dealing with the cookie dough recall, and you don't know about the cookie dough recall, do you?
I don't know. I haven't heard about this.
So, a certain co-packer, I'm assuming, must have gotten salmonella, because they are naming all these brands of cookie dough that has to come back, but it says in there, Rise Baking. Ooh. Hey, Rise Baking. Do you remember?
Exactly who that is. Yeah.
So they are recalling it due to salmonella, which I don't understand why, because most of the cookie dough they're recalling is things you have to bake, and there is the risk of salmonella all the time. I guess it's like they know it has salmonella, so they're pulling it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably, it's probably a better safe than sorry scenario. You're supposed to bake it, but how many people do? And if they know they had a real contamination in their facility. Yeah. I know everybody's eating raw cookie dough.
I just saw an influencer make a cookie dough ice cream burrito, like where he bought like Pillsbury cookie dough, rolled it out, put ice cream in it, rolled it together, and then ate it like a burrito, which obviously looks good. But the comments were like, bro, there's literally a salmonella outbreak right now on cookie dough.
Yeah. Timing.
So luckily for Fat and Weird Cookies, you can eat them raw.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's completely safe to do.
Yep. So
no salmonella here.
Nope.
So, but no, that's a big one for any company out there having to like recall products, because it's like, I don't know, you're thinking you're about to make money on this stuff, and now you essentially have to pull it back and trash it.
Yeah, man. And then dealing with that at scale, dealing that with retailers, you not only have to trash it, you got to replace it, right? And then like, we haven't even had to deal with it yet. The retailer is not going to be happy with you. They're not going to have happy customers. I don't know if there's a penalty.
I know, but at the end of the day, you'd have to pay the distribution costs both times.
Oh, sure. You
but
sure would.
There is, we learned about this. There is recall insurance.
There is.
So
it's very expensive.
Most of these people are probably covered.
Yeah, I imagine they're all covered. And at that kind of scale, a lot of times they have to be.
Yeah.
So.
Actually, I think
good luck, y'all.
I think that we probably have to have it to be into some of the places that we're in. So, but speaking of recall, a place that we're going to be in soon that we will hopefully never have to recall any products, Publix.
That's right.
I actually just found out today. Was that your first time finding out?
Yeah, that we had a date.
Yeah,
right, for sure.
Because every time
we've been talking about, we talk about it, but and we've told y'all before, it's hurry up and wait. It's hurry up and wait. And we get them everything they need at the timeline that they say, and then, cool, we'll get to you next quarter.
Well, yeah, they'll say, like, okay, we'll circle back next month. And you're like, to give us a PO? And they're like, no, to let you know of our timeline. And you're like, so I've got to wait a month to hear back? So Publix has tried our stuff. February? Would that be off base? Because we thought we would be in there like May, June, I think.
Did. We were, we were
scrambling. Hey, I guess, they're going to pull the trigger at the end of June, and we have 45 days. So from this podcast, I would anticipate 90 to 120 days.
Yes.
So 3 to 4 months from now, if all goes as planned, which we'll let you know if it doesn't, their PO should be in 2 weeks. And then we have 45 days to do it, which we're going to do it hopefully quicker than that. Right. And then I would say probably 45 days from that point for them to actually distribution, and let's give us an extra 15 days just in case.
Yeah, they they have to clear some space for us so y'all know what's going on. They basically have to rearrange some space in the freezer section, because I don't know how many times you've been in there with empty freezer space. They don't have empty space. And so there'll be some moving around, some reshuffling, some product restructuring. but they're making room for us, and so that's exciting.
Yeah, it's always exciting when they're making room for us, but also sometimes like I feel like a fear that I've started to get in the back of my mind is one day what if they're making room for someone else and getting rid of us, you know? I mean, obviously that hopefully is like so far down the line.
That's right. So that, we got to get in there. We got to hit the ground running. We're learning as we go, man. You know, what works best. I know there's all kinds of rebates and everything we've talked about needing to do, and grease and palms, if you will, is what it is.
And there's a lot of social media content. You know, a lot of you may be familiar that we're in Myers, and it has not been a good experience from our side of things just because there's been like a lack of communication about what stores we're in. Because at the end of the day, we want to help them sell our product too, right? It looks good on us if the product is selling fast, but they haven't given us the ability to kind of use our social media network and things like that to push the product because we don't even know where it is or when it's out. And
you know,
like
we're running up against that a lot in that we're fast and nimble and they're big, but they're slow. And, you know, I'm sure legal has to like check on something. And we really just want to be like, hey, guys in Boise, you know, wherever, go here. That's it. Buy our cookies here.
Right.
But, you know, we want to do some fun stuff with that. And so there's still some fun to be had.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, cool guys here right now shooting video downstairs.
Yeah, it's interesting. They're you know, very much Gen Z, age 20 to 22,
or younger.
Yeah,
just young seeming.
Yeah, and it's just very interesting to watch them work. I mean, they pump out content quick.
Oh, they're working. They're working, and the head kid Lee, man, he's pretty impressive with his work ethic for being so young, and being detail-oriented. I like seeing that, but, man, it is some sophomore humor, dude. It is.
Yeah.
They're like, what do you think about this idea? I'm like, just make the video. I don't know. It's not for me. I know that.
Yeah.
I'd like, it's okay. It's engaging. They're doing a great job, man. What they turn out as, that's a long-winded way to say what they turn out on the end, very engaging, very eye-catching. It's a new style for us. So
it's in my opinion, it's very Gen Z TikTok when you look at it. And at the end of the day, you know, Aubrey and I don't have our attention on social media nearly as much anymore. So I'm excited to see how it turns out. I mean, it's no real skin off our back if it doesn't turn out well.
They're making fun content. None of it's unfamily friendly or off brand.
Yeah.
It's just it's a unique style and it's fun. It's just new, you know?
Yeah.
So it's cool.
Yeah.
Y'all will see. Check it out.
Yeah, I think their first post is the Father's Day post. I think they may be posting today or tomorrow.
All right.
For Father's Day. So.
All right, cool.
Which also, happy Father's Day to any of those dads out there.
Father's
I know
Day.
this will go live the day after Father's Day, but, you know, happy Father's Day to all those dads out there. I have a feeling that's probably 90.
Happy Father's Day to you, dog.
Yeah, you do. I feel like that's like 90% of the people that watch our podcast are probably that demographic.
Dads.
Yeah, 95% even. Well, while we're talking about food still, have you seen the Chipotle CEO video?
Oh, man, yes.
I think the funniest thing is where he was pretty much like, listen, guys, we're not giving you smaller portions. Like, you're dumb, you know?
First of all, let's just boom, that is what it is.
Yeah, and then next he was like, if they're giving you a portion that you feel like is too small, you just give them one of these. Yeah.
Come on, guy.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, is that in like the Chipotle training book manual? Hey, if a customer gives you the, you know, give them more.
Like look for the right angle. Like, was that 20% head nod, 30% head nod? I like that one video. This lady, she's like, and if that doesn't work, you just give them one of these.
Yeah, I did. I saw that. She's like,
give me some more guac.
Yeah, it's but yeah, it's really interesting because I mean, there are people that are very adamant that the portion sizes have changed.
They have. I mean,
yeah. Well, it's like, wasn't that going to call shrinkflation when they do that, where they don't change the price, they just change the amount they give you?
And I mean, you know, everybody's getting hit. I don't, you know.
Didn't Oreos do that? They changed the way the Oreos were in the container, but the container changed the same size, but it's like they did it in a less effective manner. You know what I mean?
They do it all the time. I don't know about the Oreo specifically, but you'll see like weird cavitations in drink bottle containers.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of it is shipping costs.
Febreze, they did it. They put like that fake cap on the bottom that made it just as tall, but they gave you less stuff.
Right. It's all deceptive marketing tricks. It's wild. I mean, it's yeah.
I low-key think that's why people went to these cans like here, because I think they are as tall as a 16-ounce is, but they're just skinny.
Yep.
And people will just see the height of them. It's, you know what? Honestly, our cookies are a good representation of that. Our cookies are 5.5 ounces. If you bake our cookies flat, they are massive.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not like a dinner plate. They're like a dessert plate or like a side plate. Like they're big. Yep. Now, when we got better at consistently making them fat, I used to get customer service messages that said, I don't appreciate that the cookies are smaller now and the price is still the same. And we actually went from 5 ounces to 5.5 ounces. Yep. So I was like, this feels like a slap in the face. Yep. I'm giving 10% more, and now I'm getting told that you're mad that there's less. I said, listen, weigh them like they're thicker, and that's something that we constantly battle with. People see our cookies and they go, well, they're only this big, and it's like, yeah, but that thing is inch and a half thick, whereas your normal cookie is like a quarter of an inch thick probably. Yep. And so you spread that out. So I feel like that's a battle I have to have still to this day. It's like, no, our cookies didn't get smaller. We just got consistently better at producing a consistent product.
That's right. Because it still has to ship. If we overbake it, then the core is too exposed to the outside. So as always, we recommend throw it in your oven at the house, throw it in the microwave, whatever. But yeah, I mean, he's right. We have them in a nice tight shape that ship well, that serve all kinds of functions. Throw that bad boy in the microwave. Like let it melt down.
Yeah. I know for a fact if you throw it in the oven at like 300, like a little bit lower than what we recommend, 300 for like 5 to 6 minutes, it will dinner plate out for sure. And then this isn't available to a lot of you if you're not near a Meijer's, and I don't know which Meijer's is available at right now, but at Publix, they're going to have our take and bake as well. And we have directions on the back to bake it fat or to bake it flat, essentially.
Yep.
So you'll have those options, or you can do like Kirsty does and just pull it out and eat it like an apple.
That's
like
just pop it.
That's it's a good way to eat it. Honestly, it's really
it's
good.
Delicious.
Well, that's where the cookie dough bites are coming in. They'll
you just
replace
kind of
that.
got to keep it in the door, so it doesn't get too hard.
Yeah.
If you want to really get in there, but it's delicious. And then throw it right back in the freezer.
Yeah. Well, I think she moved them to the fridge.
Yeah.
Actually.
Oh
just
yeah,
to keep
they
them
were
up
in the
there.
fridge for a while.
Yeah. So, and because you can seal them back up in the back, you can keep them from drying out and stuff like that. But so I guess just to give a fat and weird update, you were gone this week.
Yep. Shout out to New Jersey. Went to go see Wake Fern. They were doing kind of a round of last round products or whatever in different categories, and we got to be the finalist. And so we went up there and we were presenting in the desserts, really the most of the dessert category. It was us and one other that was a freeze-dried candy company. So dried product, not in the candy section, not really dessert, but us and them.
I'm curious, just not to jump in. I'm curious how freeze-dried candy is going to do in the long term, because it seems like it's like kind of like a novelty now. And at the end of the day, you don't own anything. You buy someone else's candy.
Right.
It's not like you're making your own candy and then freeze-drying it as like a process, which I think that's what's going to happen. You're going to have a company like Nerds or someone create their, like, just freeze-drying their candy,
right. But there's no reason. You're spot on. There's no reason if it catches on and takes off, which I just don't see that happening per se, because it's like it's a sub niche of you like Skittles. Like, you're a Skittles fan. Like, I don't know, maybe it exists. Like, I really like Haribo Gold Bears. I like other kinds of gummies, but I really like those the best. I mean, those don't freeze dry well.
Well, I was going to say
the
the reason it's not going to take off, in my opinion, is because if it does blow up to the point where it's like a considerable market, the company that owns the candy manufacturing themselves is just going to make that process.
Yeah, just put a freeze dry line at the end of the current line.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so they will cut you out and they will bury you because you won't be able to compete with their prices.
It's actually not that difficult. Like, it's just a big room it's almost like a pressurizing thing, like lumber or whatever. Yeah. It's a big room that they heat up.
Also, I don't know how anyone does that at scale, because the ones I've seen, which I mean, this company probably has a much bigger one, but like the ones I've seen, like the tabletop ones, I'm like, bro, you're doing like a couple bags of candy.
There's whole rooms with racks, and they push them all in there, and it heats up to an amount, and then it like rapidly cools and pulls the air.
Yeah, it's like a dehydrator almost. Kinda.
Yeah, it's like using like some heat and then a bunch of cold and a vacuum pressure.
Yeah.
And it like sucks the water out of the thing.
So I've seen some people freeze drying like eggs because you can make egg powder and they'll do it like with breast milk because then you can store it for longer.
Sourdough starter.
Yeah. So it's wild to me. I think that if you really love freeze dried candy, buy a freeze dryer yourself because you can do a lot of stuff with it.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen those, and for like prepping purposes or whatever, just, which is also backed up by a study that I forget what age it starts, but like folks our age and younger think it's better to have like a stockpile of supplies than it is to have a retirement fund.
Yeah.
They think, I don't know that I disagree. I don't know what you're going to do with a stockpile of money because they can just print more and,
right.
you know, but
I believe in a stockpile of supplies. In my opinion, guns and ammo is more important.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like we can talk into the doomsday stuff, but there's most likely going to be animals still walking around.
Oh, 100%.
So you can harvest those. Also protection.
Yeah.
You know,
and you can just take other people's stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say barter, but yeah, yeah, you can negotiate.
Guns and ammo, man.
But anyway, okay, so Wake Fern, you met with him.
Yeah, it went well, man. We kind of got bumped. There were a couple of folks, you know, old school sales types, you know, just kind of that like, I don't want to hate on them. They were all nice people, but like, you know, car salesman look, right? Like kind of old school car salesman look. They were selling a new pasta sauce where they've been selling pasta sauce in that store for 40 years or whatever it is.
Right.
Like, why are they even here? Like, why does this even have to go on? But with us, there was a couple, the rest of us were fairly new brands. And, you know, they wanted to get to know us, talk a little bit about the operations, do that type of little bit of dog and pony show, a little bit of fact finding, and then kind of did around the room questions for me. You know, they hit me with a bunch of questions. They were all good. You know, we joked about it earlier. I got hit with a couple weird questions by one of the decision makers, or at least I felt like it was kind of strange, but they were engaged. They were asking questions. They were interested in the product. You know, we talked about they get a little confused because they'll see the name, they'll like the name, they'll go, let me look them up, Google it, boom, they go to the website, they see a list, they're like, oh, wow, this is cool. And then they kind of almost become, fixated. And it's a good thing, almost like a fan, or like, I really like what you're doing here. I want to order, ooh, those cookies look good. I want to order some. And they almost put their consumer hats on. And I got to like reel them back into like, yeah, but we're doing business to business here. Yes, get them for your customers. Your customers are going to love them, but I want your company to buy them from my company. I would also love for you to go on the website and buy them. Please go to fatandweirdcookie.com and get yourself some cookies. But
right.
Dang.
Yeah, I would say it trips a lot of people up. It's just, you know, I bring up my buddy Max, his brand Sour Strips. When you go to his website, you buy Sour Strips.
Right.
When you go to the store, you buy Sour Strips. Right. You know, same thing with, I don't know, I have another friend that it's really Max's friend that owns that Anabar, which is like Anabar Nutrition or whatever. They're like protein bars essentially. Yeah. But same thing. You go to their website, you order that, Bakken's, you go to the store.
Just a shout out to Bakken's. They're a really good sauce brand. I follow them. Okay. They're a social media company or whatever, but same thing. Sauce, right? Right. It's Japanese barbecue sauce. And then
I think the hard part is like our product is not a store product because it is a baked fresh for you product. So our experience that we want the consumer to have is always like the top-notch fresh experience. And by getting our product frozen into wholesale, we're getting it one step closer to you being able to bake it fresh exactly when you want it, and you can get it. But people see our already prepackaged cookies, and they think about other brands like Grandma's or whatever that are on their shelves, and they're like, oh, I just want that cookie on my shelf. And, you know, we've talked about that, and it's not something I'm really interested in because I don't want to, one, add all the preservatives and stuff in there. And two, I just don't think that our product is like gourmet products like that are ones that you want to be on a shelf for a year.
Right. We're nowhere near even thinking about that. So it hadn't even crossed my mind that like, no, our product, basically about to repeat everything you said. Our products are baked fresh, shipped out, even the ones through DoorDash. Again, we keep a tight eye on that consistency, and we need them to be fresh.
Yeah, and there's another brand, which I just won't mention their name, but they're big into the protein cookie space. But they started out as an e-com cookie brand like we did, and I'll see their ads occasionally, and I'll just like read the comments because I always like to see what other people are saying. And people are like, there's not this much filling inside of them. They're dry and crumbly and all this stuff. And it's like, I don't want people to have that experience. And the truth is, moisture is what causes mold and what's caused all the things. So you have to, that's why Oreos can be on the shelf for so long, or Famous Amos. Those are the driest freaking cookies ever. And then you get to like chewy Chips Ahoy, and there's so many chemicals in that thing, and there's definitely not a liquid filling inside. Nope. When you put a liquid in there, you're really telling it, like, you only got like 3 weeks for this, because otherwise you're just creating an environment for mold and stuff. So, but Wakefern was really good.
It went well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see. A lot of these retailers, they're waiting to ride the successes of another retailer.
Right.
It's like dating.
Well, I know
they want they want you when the next guy or girl wants you.
Yeah. So like the counter, the company I'm invested in that does those macro-friendly meals, same thing. They had like Sam's Club and Costco were waiting to see how they were doing in Target.
Right.
And they're like, well, we know you rolled out here. And so I guess we're really fortunate that I think we built a solid enough brand name that you said people knew who we were before we got there. Like, didn't have to research us, already had heard of Fat and Weird. So I think that helps out a lot in the situation.
It's huge, man. It's huge, but it's also that we're like multifaceted. So in selling, a lot of times what you're doing is posturing. You're not lying, and it is true, but you're just making sure that they understand certain, look, this is where we're going. We'd love for you to be involved with us. Notice I didn't say, will you help me get there?
Right.
I would love for you to come along. I would love for, and as a B2B, we've got a tremendous product. It's going to sell well. We have been able to control our manufacturing costs so that we can provide them with good margins. It's a no freaking brainer. We're not a big fat company that has layers of things, so it has to just, we're nimble. We can do things that the next guy can't.
Well, yeah, like DoorDash. How long did it take us to get them a custom cookie?
Bang!
Like within a month, they had a custom flavor.
Yeah, and so like as we scale, that'll slow, and that's where maybe the faster, nimbler guy will be a pain at our ankles. But like right now, the sales meetings are pretty much like, here's all we got going on. You want in?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Christian said that it's been very easy because once people try our product, they're like, yep, we're ready to go.
Yeah, we love it. Yeah, they love it. They like the branding. Again, we do it all of it at least a little better than everyone else. But we do certain things just so much better. Obviously, we have put time and care into creating the product. I know we got the product on lockdown. And now just through trying, none of us have like real marketing backgrounds, just from trying, what's sells, what catches your eye, stuff like that. We're like killing it on the branding side.
Right.
Just the stores are boring. So they see it and they're like, neat.
Right.
New.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it's like I said, I came into a market that already existed, but I created a product that doesn't exist inside that market. And so, and it really was just because I was like, well, if we want to put something in this cookie that's crazy, we got to stuff it because I'm shipping this thing.
That's right.
And then it just kind of went from there. So
it's basically cold pockets. But then you heat them up. And they're hot pockets.
Hot pockets, cold pockets. Well, I'm trying to think if there's anything else for Fat and Weird update-wise that we're going through. Obviously, DoorDash, we're growing into some more locations there. I don't know how many. Do you know how many locations we're in? Do you have any
There's
idea?
121 at last week. But I don't know.
And then we added the 25.
I don't know if that's what the new ones
are. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, yeah, we're in 120 to 150, somewhere in that range right now. So obviously that's going really well. And then we've started manufacturing the cookie dough bites.
That's right.
And so I think that first order will be out in 2 weeks.
That's right. Yep. So Unify is supposed to be picking up on the 28th. And Publix.
Putting in their order.
And putting in an order. So it's going to be a good month.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be an interesting month.
And that's all being juggled out of.
And we got half of our Benny Keith payment, supposedly. It's been remitted. I haven't seen it hit the bank account. But if anyone remembers, so Benny Keith payment is for the Myers stuff that we produced in like November. December. Yeah. And then we gave it to them in January or February. Yeah. And we've been waiting for them to pay us since February. So, yeah.
And you get to a certain level, and they're using words that I guess they are words, but they're like, oh, here's a remittance. And you're like, I want a payment.
Yeah.
I want dollar bills.
Yeah, they've like,
and they're like, we've acknowledged your payment request. I'm like, cool.
yeah, it's so funny. They're like, we've set it all up. And I was like, does that mean you sent it or
set it up to do what?
Yeah.
I want it to go in my bank account.
They're like, it's in our system. And I'm like, is it going to be in my system?
Yeah,
but
man.
Yeah,
and I'm telling y'all, we're dealing with big companies and they're like, oh, Gladys went on a vacation. She'll be in next week. She'll get you taken care of. I'm like, this is 6 figures, Gladys.
Well,
You're the only person who can write a check on behalf of a publicly traded company? What the hell?
Yeah. Well, who else was it? What was it? No. I'm not going to say the company's name, but I think they said, oh, I'm sorry, they're out. They had a colonoscopy.
Yeah.
And like, they can't pay you. They had a colonoscopy.
Yeah. Shit,
and I'm like,
hit the fan.
Well, yeah. Anyways, so that's kind of a fat weird update and everything that we're dealing with right now. Which maybe what we need is some CIA deepfake masks to pretend like we're someone important to get our money.
Yeah. All right.
Tell the story.
I
didn't know
saw
about
this on the Patrick Bet David podcast show. They were talking about it. It's great. Y'all go check it out. He'll do a better job explaining it. But listen. Oh, no. It's Joe Biden's wearing a mask. I mean, it's maybe a shadow, but it's way more fun to think it's a mask. So I'm going to go with a mask.
But the long story short is you said that there was someone that briefed.
Yeah. So the longer story of it is, and PBD references that too. This lady, the director of like disguise of the CIA, gave a briefing to George Bush Sr. like while wearing a mask, like a Mission Impossible mask, y'all. And he didn't know. And then she like revealed it. Okay. And she gave this talk that basically outlines all the stuff that she had been able to do under her time. I'm guessing it was declassified. Hopefully it was declassified. I don't know. I don't want to get in trouble. But the video's old. Like, I don't know how old it was. It was grainy when they showed it. And then it's just suspect. You got it to play or no? You didn't get it set up? TikTok? TikTok's always good for something. Now, look, there's a lot of, like, suspect stuff, right? Okay.
The other extreme is advanced disguise that you would use for up close and personal for an extended period of time, where the person you were talking to would have no idea that you were not in true face.
Chief of disguise.
One of the things that was going on when I was chief of disguise was an enormous research program into the new advanced disguise system. It was basically the masks that everybody always wondered if we used masks, and this was the beginning. This is a series of photographs of when I met George H.W. Bush in the Oval Office and revealed to him that I was briefing him wearing a mask. When you go to disguise a person, the general idea is that you're going to meet with someone in this.
Yeah, I didn't realize. So it's like a full-on mask that, like, it's not like prosthetically
Mission
put on.
Impossible.
It's like literally pull off this mask. Very interesting. I feel like that'd be hard to do because you really got to contour it to someone's face so it doesn't look weird. But that explains now why people like they see people like rubbing their neck and it like leaves these weird ripples and it's like I don't know. I guess people are gonna think this has turned into a conspiracy theory channel.
Yeah, no, man. It's just there's body doubles. We've known about body doubles. People have had them all over the place. Dictators, all kinds of stuff.
Right.
Whether or not they give their speeches for them, or whether or not they do things on their behalf or sign on their behalf, I don't know. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to make this too political or too over the top conspiracy, like I'm trying to incite anything. It's just fun to talk about, and it's very suspect what's going on in this video. So, dude, if somebody wants to jump on here and explain the physics to me on how this is like lighting phenomena, I would love that too. I would love to learn. But if Easty could play that video that
that's kind of like what we were talking about with the moon landing. It's like if that stuff is still on the moon and we have telescopes that are so powerful we can be looking into like other galaxies, then just show me the picture of the moon surface with the flag and stuff still on it. That's all I want to know. Because you left stuff there. Just show me a picture of it.
Just go back and take a picture of it.
Yeah. But there were some people very upset when we were talking about the moon. And I said, listen, I'm not saying the moon landing wasn't real. I'm just saying I have some questions that I'd like for someone to answer other than you're an idiot.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
Because that's the response people have. They're like, and first off, like, since when? Literally, they tell you all the time in school, question everything, ask the right questions so you can learn. And then the moment we become adults, when you question something, people are like, shut up, you're dumb.
No, they start that in school. They say that stuff, and then they are like,
yeah, don't
why
ask
are you
the
asking
question.
me that?
Yeah.
Don't ask that. It's not on the test.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it
doesn't matter.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it's just like, I didn't know that whole thing about the radiation bands or whatever that you have to cross through, and they literally were peaking from 69 to 72, which is like the time that we were supposed to be going back. And then, did you see the Challenger? Like, the fact that, like, the people that died on the explosion.
Oh, yeah.
And then they found people, and they had the same name.
Yeah.
Some of them have, like, the same occupation.
Wild.
And I think people said they probably didn't feel like they needed to do a huge cover-up because
they didn't think
the
this
internet
would exist.
Yeah, the
they
internet
didn't think
wouldn't
you
exist.
Could look someone up by facial
But they
recognition.
found these people, and they're like, they not only they look the same, they're the age they need to be,
They're
all
the
this
same.
stuff. So, again, I know that people are like, oh, it's conspiracy theory, but it's just like, at the end of the day, like, what does it hurt to ask those questions? I'm not saying that there's, like, anything wrong with, I mean, like, the Challenger may have blown up and those people may have died. But the fact that there's people that have their exact names and they're the right ages and stuff, why is it not okay just to be like, that's kind of weird coincidence? I'd like to know more, Yeah,
well, because an intelligence operation is in place.
Yeah.
That's how you know that. I mean, whatever, not to be too serious about it, but that's how you know. You're like, gotcha, insert the Kanye West, gotcha. Like, and they're like, no, you're crazy.
Well, so
you're insensitive, actually. You're mean.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah.
And you're like, what? No, I got you. How did you get an Uno reverse card?
You brought that up. You said that a lot of times whenever people are heading down the right path, they make it seem so, like, ludicrous and weird. Like the whole, like, the Wayfair situation where they're like, cabinets had the weird names and stuff on there, and then they're like, you guys are idiots. Like,
yep.
You're like, who would be doing that stuff? And they make you feel stupid. And then you're like, man, maybe I am being stupid. And then you just kind of like stop. Right. Again, I'm not trying to jump down that conspiracy theory either. What I'm just trying to say is that, like, there should be nothing wrong with questioning things.
Question everything.
And if someone can't talk you through their reasoning behind it, then they don't have a good understanding of it either.
That's right.
And I think that
a lot of people lead their life through belief, like just pure beliefs. And, like, you can have belief in religion, but everything else should be pretty much rooted in fact.
Right.
And people are like, they can't explain anything because they don't really have an opinion on it. They have your opinion on it.
Right.
Like, they're just over here, like, ready to die for someone else's opinion, and they don't even effing know.
Yeah.
But we don't use our brains. You just swipe on your phone and go, like, yeah, this is me. This is my feelings. And then you ask somebody to explain themselves. They can't. They can just energize. And
well, I've seen a lot of that where they've, like, gone around and they've questioned people on, maybe it's Palestine, Israel stuff, or they've questioned them on any like topic, Trump's indictment, any of that stuff. And the people, like, start just kind of, like, almost like spewing hate and anger. And then you, like, start trying to, like, dissect it. And it really falls apart very fast.
It does.
House and Habit is a girl that Jessica Krause is her name. She's on Instagram. She has over 1 million followers, and she was, up until 2020, she was super, super liberal. She tells you she was a diehard Democrat. She hated Trump, all this stuff. She said as she started going more into independent journalism, she, like, realized that she had been, I wouldn't say lied to, but had been led to believe things that weren't necessarily true.
For sure.
And there's a lot of people that follow her that she'll repost, and they said, like, I hated Trump until I actually heard him speak, and I didn't just regurgitate the snippets that everyone else pulls out.
Well, that's right. And that's, I mean, that's both sides of the fence are trying to do it. I think the liberals do a better job at manipulating their base more so, because when you talk to them, they all feel like they're better. They're doing something and better than
moral superiority.
Yeah, right? Like, I'm superior to you or in some way. I'm just a dumb hick, or whatever, because I have a religion and, like to keep my own peace and stuff. But it's both sides of the aisle. But, man, people get on their phones. They beam all of the world's problems into their faces. I'm not saying people shouldn't, whatever, hot topic. I'm not saying people shouldn't care about what's going on the other side of the world. What I'm saying is, if you can't do anything, if you're not doing a real fundraiser, if you're not going to go over there and do something, if you're just going to like get angry and angsty and hold up signs and belittle other people for not being angsty and holding up signs with you, like you're not doing anything. There are real kids in your neighborhood with bad home lives that would love to like take an art class that you volunteer to teach or whatever your skills may be. You could really help people. And it bothers me that nobody takes it. Everybody wants to point the finger and blame somebody for something, not fix anything. Yeah. And just become more and more literally useless every year.
And loud about it.
And
the louder,
loud.
like people feel like they're because they're loud about it, they're doing something. I posted last night, I don't know if you saw it, and it said like, if it's not gonna, it was saying like, if you can be in a bad mood for no reason, you might as well be in a good mood for no reason. Yep. And that if it's not gonna change your life, like whatever the circumstance is, if it's not gonna change your life, then there's no reason to be upset about it, you know? And if it costs you your peace, then it's too expensive. Yep. And I think that's what a lot of people get wrapped up on, is they get so upset about something that really has no bearing on their life at all. And I get like having causes that you want to support, but like there's no point in getting worked up over this cause because it really doesn't have a bearing on your life. You're just trying to help out this cause.
It's a dopamine addiction. It's a pop of feels in the emotion to get overly emotionally attached to a cause, to a powerful cause that you feel some type of way about.
It's a community thing too.
Yeah,
a lot of people want to be like,
I want to be
me and my group do this.
But there's also so much where I see people that will have these strong opinions, and you'd call them political opinions. They are today political opinions, but biological opinions shouldn't be political opinions. Science shouldn't be a political opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like crazy. But they have these opinions that are other people's opinions because they've just literally swipe, like, share, friend, regurgitate, listen to multiple times. And then you go, why do you think that way? And their instinct is to yell at you.
Attack, yeah.
And to tell you, like, because you're messing with their belief system, right? It's almost like if I'm prying at your religion, what the core value of religion, you don't know. You just have to believe. And so that part of our brain, I think, is designed to be like, at some point, hey, back up. Man.
Yeah.
I don't want you prying all the way. I don't want you prying this out of my head.
Yeah. There's a famous like psychologist. Yeah. Then I was watching some of his stuff earlier, and he said there's only one race, the human race. He said back in the day, there was no racism because there was only one race. He said racism started during kind of like during capitalism / takeover movements by countries, because they said they had to create races in order to show their superiority over the other race. And that's the way they would enslave them or capture them and stuff like that.
They've done that throughout.
Right. And so he literally said, race is a social construct. He said the same thing that you can find in a lot of different races, you can find in other races and things like that. And it's all,
I'm not trying to, what happened in America early on, terrible thing, absolutely
to
terrible.
the Native Americans,
all over the world.
to like all kinds of people. Yeah.
But I mean, slavery has occurred literally all over the planet. And I can't imagine what it's like to own a slave, but I imagine to make that a thing that people are comfortable with, even in barbaric times, they have to be less than human.
Right.
Because you still human with each other. Yeah, I just can't imagine being like, you just get to sleep outside or however they were treated. I don't know. But, they use that through things that make them different. And it's happened all over because, like, I mean, the Vikings did it to almost exclusively white-skinned people. So they had to use other things, the colors of their hair and the colors of their eyes, to be like, see?
Right.
Not a human.
Yeah. And so it's just interesting when you really start dissecting a lot of these like layers to things. And then like why we have issues that we have right now. And I don't know, it's weird. I feel like at some aspects, people want to identify with a group, yet other people want to like not identify with the group. They want to still be a part of the group, but be like
they want to
unique in the group.
Yeah,
like hey, I'm this kind of person, but I'm the only brown-haired this kind of person, or I'm the only 6 foot tall this kind of person. You know?
Yeah,
it's like I want to be a community, but I want to be unique within the community.
Yeah, in a one-up to infinity level with each other, to where, I mean, everyone is just like waiting for their turn to be offended. It feels like they're like, ha ha.
Yeah, gotcha.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You said, it's like everybody's running around just saying how weak and like just being a pussy all the time. Like, dude, just imagine grandfather-aged people, dude. If you said something they didn't like, they'd whoop your ass.
Yeah.
Problem solved. People didn't say things like they say now because there was that very real fear of getting your ass whooped, or at least having to deal with that.
Right.
Now people say nothing and they get offended, and then on the other end of the token, I think say some of the worst things that I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's a whole nother topic about not caring about the human life.
Or free speech. We don't have to get into all that stuff either. Well, while we're talking about different, I guess, races, even though we've talked about the human race, so China is in the EV market, and they're actually
they're in the race.
They're winning the race. So Tesla is like the number 2 EV manufacturer in China, but China has a ton of different EV manufacturers. And I was reading online that they're literally able to produce these like fully electric vehicles for like $12,000 or something like that. And they're talking now about putting 100% tariff on them because it would collapse the U.S. car market if China was able to bring them in. And they're saying that China's still probably going to import them with 100% tariffs because they're still going to be cheaper than U.S. cars.
Man. Yeah, there's so many layers to that, but I think if our U.S. plan, which I don't know where we're at as far as electric vehicles actually taking over the market, but if our plan is to do that inside the United States, like phase out combustion engines, we need to do them with American-built stuff, man. We just need to force that to occur.
Yeah. Well, I think the way that we've talked about it now is, recently Trump said if he was reelected, again, it's not about Trump, this thing. It's just about what he brought up, and it's that he would like to get rid of income tax completely and put tariffs on goods. And you actually brought up a really good point about the whole capitalism thing. If you're going to replace labor with China labor or outside labor and stuff like that, then you need to support the U.S. economy.
Yeah,
and
man.
So
all right, look, it's I guess trading one tax for another, but the other tax that just makes sense to me in the form of a tariff is you've done so well growing your business inside the United States, providing to the United States, because otherwise you would build it in a different country and provide to that country, that you are forced to drive profits by squeezing margin in the form of U.S. working people.
Right.
You got to pay for it.
Right.
You want to outsource your jobs overseas? That's fine, but man, that's where unemployment could be helped subsidized. That's where all kinds of things could be covered. Because, bro, like you're squeezing your you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so if you have to grow your company, if you have to import your products, if Apple doesn't have a sustainable business model selling phones at what they would have to cost here in the United States, they need to pay for it.
Right. And so I think what I think about too is like, so sometimes we buy our boxes from overseas and sometimes we buy them in the U.S. I mean, we do both. But if they raise the tariffs to like an astronomical rate, then we would probably buy them in the U.S. because then it would almost be like a wash. Yep. And then what that does is it creates more jobs for the United States.
That's right.
And so I think that, the idea is that you're creating money for the economy, either by people bringing the jobs back to U.S. base or by having to pay extra taxes.
They can outlay very nice tax incentives for these wealthy company owners to move production back in with depreciation rates and just write-offs in general, credits of sorts. They can make even more money by bringing the cash to the table to get the plants set up. But yeah, man, food production, vehicle production. Look, I know World War III hopefully is not about to kick off anytime soon, but we need to be good. Well, if the rest of the world is doing whatever, America needs to be good, man, and that's where
clothes prices will definitely go up.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
But how much consumerism? I know, and I participate in it too. I like shopping and stuff, but like, how many clothes you got? You don't need. I got clothes I don't need at all. I bought it because it was like, oh, neat. I wouldn't have said, oh, neat, if it was $75. I would have been like,
yeah, it's always interesting in theory, right? Because at the end of the day, you have an idea of how this would go down if it was implemented. You can kind of like, based on our imports and exports and the way things are, you could kind of like figure out like what would happen if all things stayed equivalent. But usually, all things don't stay equivalent.
Well, what I see would happen, and what I think the original thought was with like NAFTA was that things would move into, Mexico, Canada, United States. There's depressed areas of the United States. The problem really is so far and wide, there's not one thing to point at.
Right.
But our economy, through inflation and international monies and all kinds of stuff, is so jacked up that everywhere is so expensive that for somebody to have a job, it's astronomical. People are going to move. And then it's crazy because then you've got areas where rents are out of control. So then companies are being squeezed because they have to pay just astronomical rates to keep people.
Well, yeah. And then I know we've talked about, what some big companies do. Well, to talk about rents real quick, the interest rates are so high that people aren't buying new homes to rent them out just because they say there's a 1% rule. You're supposed to rent it out 1% of the value like per month or something like that, so if you buy a $6,000 house, you should be able to rent it out for $6,000 a month, and that's not going to happen. That $6,000 or $600,000 house, you could maybe rent it out for like $3,500, maybe $4,000, maybe.
Depends on where you are.
Right. So, when you look at that, and then like you were saying, what big companies are doing, like Red Lobster filing bankruptcy. I know we want to talk about that, but originally they were bought by a venture capitalist group who sold the land out from underneath them and raised their rent.
Sale lease back. Yep.
And
so they split the company, or didn't. They probably completely legally sold it to this other company that they didn't have any interest in whatsoever, because if they did, they would have to answer to shareholders, but nobody's looking and nobody has to look, and that's all legal. And so basically what they were able to do is buy them all, sell the dirt to another company, raise the rents on the Red Lobster, not caring that the business part is suffering. That's the one that has to return revenue over here. This company over here that's just collecting rent and appreciation and depreciation and all that fun stuff is having a good time.
Right. And then they sold it again.
Yep.
They sold the actual Red Lobster brand because now the land's owned by other people.
Yep.
They sold it to a company that is the largest exporter of shrimp or importer of shrimp or whatever.
Yep. So they basically sold it, or a company got a hold of it. And just so happened to sign a contract with, you could say itself, or with another company. They, of course, deny that, no, we didn't know. We thought this was a good idea to put unlimited shrimp for like $9 or whatever it was on the menu. Just come in and eat all you want to.
Yeah, so
this restaurant can lose its ass.
So essentially, they have like three hands. Red Lobster is feeding the real estate company that owns the dirt and everything. So if Red Lobster goes defunct, it doesn't matter because they own the building and the dirt, and they'll find someone else to go in there. And then the other hand is selling shrimp, and Red Lobster's paying for all this shrimp.
Well, no, hold on. It gets more fun, right? So then the first company that owns the land, you've now increased the rent. You've forced the appreciation on this land.
Yeah.
Your returns are higher, and so you're trading at whatever the cap rate stability is.
Gotcha.
So Red Lobster, there's no blood in the water yet. So if you take rent from $18,000 to $20,000 to or whatever, $22,000 a month, you have a whole shiny new product. And instead of doing them as a batch, you can just start selling them out.
Right.
And none of these guys are going to have the folks that are going to buy the $3 to $5 million lots aren't going to have the teams to be able to check and see what Red Lobster is doing in a whole. They're just going to have to read about it in the paper or whatever.
Right, yeah.
So they got that going on.
Yeah.
Looks good. Looks like, hey, Red Lobster's rents are up. They're essentially doing all right.
Yeah, they're essentially doing that, and they are okay with bankrupting Red Lobster because they're like almost like bleeding it dry, and then when it gets to a point, they're
making money.
Right, they're going to cut it loose, and then
it's cutthroat.
It's a wild thing.
It's Wall Street as hell, but that's what it is. It's, hey, we can bleed that and make a ton of money off it.
Right.
And that's what they do. And that's what mergers and acquisitions, hostile takeover. That's not really hostile. They bought it, but So then they sell it again. They proceed to, just of no fault to their own, just mismanage we tried hard. But what they did was they locked in a contract for, I don't know if it was some other types of seafood, but it was definitely shrimp. They had unlimited shrimp. They had it at a low price point, and it proceeded to tank their bottom line because folks could come in and smash. Yeah. And
shrimp's not that cheap at the store.
Right. And so the store, by way of a franchise agreement, is forced to buy or actually maybe it's corporate. I don't even know. But regardless, that store is buying that volume and straight losing their ass. And, bankruptcy.
Right.
And so what does that mean? Now they don't, I'm sure they strategically did it where
they were getting paid, yeah.
Where they didn't owe these companies too much, but hey, it's crazy. And the takeover of land, businesses out there that need to find uses for the Pizza Huts, the CVS's, the Red Lobsters, the Olive Gardens, Do you remember the
Kmart's? They turned lots of people are turning Kmart's into storage buildings.
Self-storage, but those slightly small, or I guess a lot smaller, CVS's, they're going to close all those. Walgreens, I'm sure those will get consolidated. Yeah. Everything's going to be delivered here shortly.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would need stores for a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, because I think that people wanted stores to be able to get something quickly, but with the Instacart now, I can literally order from Home Depot and have it here in an hour.
And
I wouldn't say it wouldn't take me an hour to go there, but maybe I don't have the ability to get there because I'm in the middle of my project and I can keep working and order what I need and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I think, and I know it's just sort of whatever Jetsons, but drone technology, dude, you're going to be able to forget something when you went to Home Depot.
Well, we talked about this. I don't think that there will be, Home Depot, I guess certain places will always exist like that, but eventually they're going to turn into situations like Dashmart's doing where it's just a warehouse that they own somewhere and you can go online and order what you want and it'll be delivered very quickly, but you're not physically going to walk into those stores because you need prime real estate when you have a certain store. Like when you have a grocery store, you can't go put a grocery store down the end of you can't build it where my building is. You can't build it behind other places, out of the way, off of a road. So you have to pay more money for prime real estate. And you have to have a certain amount of parking. Yep. You have to have everything displayed nicely.
The sheer size of the building, so the aisle sizes, people can pass each other.
Exactly. And then, so you can take a grocery store and you could shrink its footprint, especially considered parking lot and all, to 20% probably. Yes. And so when you're looking at that, it's I don't need to buy this $5 million piece of property. I could buy this $500,000 piece of property. And so I'm already up $4.5 million on that. So I can spend that money on automating systems, things like that. And that's where I personally feel like the future is headed to.
Spillage goes down. People aren't stealing. They're using
less workers.
There's less workers. They're using robot pickers. So they're using that Amazon system of picking packs or whatever they're doing. And then they're using independent contractors to deliver their goods.
Yeah.
Their costs are nothing. Their labor costs must be low.
At the airport, while we were flying back, there was a plum market or something like that. It had the checkout where you put the items on there, and it literally, they all popped up on the screen and you paid. You didn't, I don't know what system it was because, I literally had some stuff sitting up tall, some stuff laying down.
The gas station over by my house. Have you not gone in there?
No.
Go in there.
It does the same thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was crazy to me. The guy working there, this is so funny. I had 2 of one item, and then I had 3 other items. So there's 5 items total, but the screen only showed 4 items because one of them said ×2 beside it. And he's like, it looks like it's not counting an item. Oh, well, just scan just scan your card and get out of here, And I was like, no, it's doing it right there ×2. And I was like, the fact that you were just don't worry about it, just steal it. I was blown away by that. But I was like, that's why there's this system, because some employee would be scanning something, it's not scanning. They're like, oh, don't worry about it, just take it, Speaking of all this technology and automation, has your phone been updated to iOS 18?
I have to check. I'm not sure.
You would know.
Okay.
You would know. Okay. Korn posted that his had been, and I saw it, and it's completely different looking. But yeah, old people like us don't like it when you change stuff. But you can now, I guess when you get the update, you can send messages via satellite. So if you don't have cellular or Wi-Fi connection, which is going to be great for us in Montana because a lot of times hiking, floating the river, no cell phone service. In fact, we were floating the river, had no service. When we got to the end of the river, John, my brother-in-law, had paid someone to move his car. They have like a little shuttle service that'll do it. Well, the woman, I guess, sent the wrong vehicle picture to the people that were supposed to move it. So they're like, that car's not here. So they didn't move his car. And so we got there and we literally had to hike up a hill and got one bar of service and got a hold of this lady, and she brought the car around, but we had to sit out there for like an hour waiting on this to happen. Wow. So with this situation, it would have not happened because she actually texted and she's like,
is that like SpaceX satellites or whose satellites?
I don't know. I thought it would be SpaceX satellites. I heard that they were using SpaceX satellites, but then, I'm not really sure. I heard that they were doing it with SpaceX, but I don't know.
That'd be cool.
They have eye tracking control for iPhone now, which I think reminds me a lot of the VR goggle thing because it does eye tracking. So yeah, emergency SOS live videos. So it shares live videos or photos during emergency calls to people that are watching.
There's a lot of
Global Star.
Okay. There's a lot of information you can gather about eye movement. Like how it moves, whether it's shaking or twitching and stuff.
And then obviously the biggest one is that Siri is merging with OpenAI.
Yeah.
And I think we all saw that OpenAI 4.0 or 4.0 demonstration where you're like talking to it, and it's I wouldn't say it's quite real time, but it's pretty quick how much it can like process what you have to say and then like give it back to you. So it's kind of I bet this is what they wanted Siri to be all along, because Siri was supposed to be like this assistant, but really everyone is like, stop talking, because it never gets it right, it seems like. But with this, it'll be big. And I think a lot of people have privacy concerns, but in my opinion, you've always traded your privacy for convenience.
Yeah.
Whenever you had groceries delivered, now you've gotten rid of the privacy of your home. Like, people now know where your home is because they're delivering your groceries. I feel like people have always traded privacy for convenience. We have all these Echo Dots around the house to turn on lights or to do things.
I think that you should be able to turn it off if you want to and know that it's not ever installed on your phone.
Right.
The thing is, I've said it whenever we've said it on here. I think we're playing with fire anyways, or more so, playing with lightning. Who knows? I don't understand it well enough to know, but I know that it is self-generating and does stuff on its own, so then it can, at some point, hack itself, whatever you want to call it.
Have you seen Atlas?
Maybe.
On Netflix? The new movie with was it Jennifer or whatever?
Yeah.
Is Jennifer Lopez?
No.
Who's on it? Atlas. Look up Atlas on Netflix.
I haven't seen Atlas yet.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Okay.
I don't want to ruin the movie for you, but it is about AI, and it's about an AI robot essentially going rogue and then uploading like data to other robots, and they all kind of go rogue.
Yeah.
And it's the story behind that.
Well, so that's, I mean, we could take the grandiose route and say that type of stuff's gonna happen, but like, man, it's AI that's gonna be conscious. That's just gonna see all the. This isn't going to be conscious, right? But it's AI. It's going to be there. It's a learning model. I think we're just helping it move towards consciousness.
I thought we talked about. Did we talk about that last week? Where they were like, they make OpenAI do like something like repeatedly over and over and again, and it like literally says things like
company. If you say company enough times or whatever,
it's distressed.
Goes into what they call rant mode.
Right.
But in rant mode, it was saying things like it's in pain and that it's scared to be shut off. And like, I don't know if somebody wrote this in there as a prank, but like, has it learned these things? Is it experiencing frustration and calling it pain?
Right. Yeah.
Is it like a toddler who's at the point where it's like, I'm getting angry? I don't know, man. But I think it's like the bunny, the dog thing, man. I worry that we're making consciousness in this stuff.
Yeah, and then how do you really define, is consciousness just knowing that you are alive or a thing? Or like, what is conscious? Like,
I think the second it knows it's there. You know, I think, therefore I am. I think if
it's no longer a program. It's now a learning thing.
Yeah, and what do you know? And then,
and I gotta assume the amount of data that's been fed by the millions of people that have just been putting in social media data, movie data, like all this stuff. Because I even would be like, help me write this Instagram caption, and I'll give it information. So and it'll say memory updated sometimes. I'll talk to it, I'll be like, I'm the CEO of Fat and Weird Cookie, and be like, memory updated.
Whole library.
So yeah.
I mean, they've been pumping Guggenheim or whatever that is, where you get all the free books for 600,000 books on it or whatever. Feeding it to it.
Well, every time I ask it about a book, it knows exactly what I'm talking about, and it'll break down that book, which is just wild, So I don't know. We're in interesting times. I think it's just all uncharted waters. It's all opinions, obviously, and I think that no one knows the right answer. But this is why we have to have open conversations. We should be able to talk about this stuff and be like, "Hey, I'm concerned with this," and then people will not be like, "You're an idiot." They'd be like, "Oh, yeah, that could be concerning." However, this is the things that are in place to keep that from happening. And then you'd be like, oh, okay. Or they'd be like, oh, that's concerning. I don't know if we actually have the proper protocols in place.
Well, yeah, but it's also, a lot of it's all in good fun. But you've got AI, and you've got robot dogs and robot humanoid-looking things.
Right.
And, you could just attach a weapon to it. There's just not a weapon attached to it right now.
Well, that's Code 8.
There's not a weapon attached to me right now.
Yeah.
But, that's how simple it is to swap that over. Yeah, Code
8.
Another
Netflix. So do you see they released the second Code 8? So they have a Code 8 2 now, and essentially, you remember how they had those Sentinel robots that would gun you down?
Oh wait, I did see that one.
Well, now they have these dogs, and the dogs were supposed to be harmless and just capture you, but then the dogs actually had a fucking vial that they would stab you with and kill you. Needle. So it's and they were immune to powers, except for one person had the power to destroy these things. In general, you could try to fry its circuits, and it was just keep coming at you or whatever. So. Definitely a wild movie. Yeah, I guess, AI movies are probably Creators, another AI one that I haven't seen, but I heard is really good.
Well, yeah, we're getting all the tools and just pushing it right up next to it. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think that people realize how much our world relies on electronics. So if something AI did go rogue and was able to get itself onto the internet, it's there forever. You're not getting rid of it. It's going to reproduce itself and hide itself in all kinds of places. You're never going to be able to get rid of it. And two, my light switches I can control with my Wi-Fi.
Right.
You can turn off my lights, People's cars that are electric, you can control it.
It's going to tie everything
together. Yeah, now your phones, you don't even need service. It can do a satellite, so you can get into the satellite and be turning off your phone. Or, anyways, I don't want to get into all that craziness.
You better learn how to freeze dry eggs and bake sourdough bread.
I know, right? Well, we're running up out of time because we have to head to our sync meeting. I know this feels like it was all over the place, but that's how our podcasts are. Yep. You're in the oven. We're baking. We're talking about all kinds of stuff. So hope you enjoyed the podcast. You're worth it. Do hard shit.